Today I'm going to be talking to someone you guys all have been wanting to see for a long time. It's a sequel you've all been waiting for. And the person I'm talking about is none other than Mr. Alisher.
Hey, like people were asking, we're waiting for the second round of this,
Yeah.
And then I was talking to you like some time ago and you were telling me that we are having the second round of this once you get a band 9. And here we go, this is happening.
Why did you want to get a band 9 so badly? Is that because everyone else wanted to get a band 9 or everyone else is getting a band 9?
And then I promised myself that I'm not going to take the paper-based exam ever again, Yeah.
Oh, you caught up with me. You did. I didn't realize that. Now he's got 2 8.5s in writing. Clicked on the message. What was your thinking? What were you thinking?
No, I was like,
Did you have
my heart started beating faster.
Okay. Was real emotional damage. I left the building with emotional damage.
If a teacher has a band 8 or higher, I think they know what they're doing, or they at least can implement the things that help them.
He was actually going to jump out of his seat and punch me in the face. Oh yeah, guys. And that's the reason why I hit the gym 3 times a week, okay?
Have an environment in the classroom which is not so relaxed, not so laid back, but at the same time, not too strict.
Since you've recently become a dad, I want to talk a little about fatherhood.
So I may sound stereotypical right now, but I feel like women are not built for driving. They're not cut out for driving.
Do you think there is any possibility of 2 of us getting on the octagon? Because this is one match people would love to see one day. Alisher versus Muhammad Ali. I think we should make this happen. Hey folks, hey everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Muse. I'm your host, Muhammad Ali, here again. Today's show is going to be so awesome because today I'm going to be talking to someone you guys all have been wanting to see for a long time. It's a sequel you've all been waiting for. And the person I'm talking about is none other than Mr. Alisher. Hey. Oh, welcome back on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you again, buddy. Because, this is the podcast. This is the episode everyone has been asking for. Please have Alisher back on the podcast. Please have him back on the podcast. Okay. Now we're finally making this happen.
Yes. So earlier I was reading the comment section of our first podcast. And then like people were asking, we're waiting for the second round of this, Yeah. And then I was talking to you like some time ago and you were telling me that we are having the second round of this once you get a band 9. And here we go. This is happening.
Yeah. Literally, guys. I told him I was going to have him on the show again on the condition that he would upgrade his score to band 9. And he did it. He went ahead and did just that. I mean, how mind-blowing is that, guys? If that does not give you goosebumps, I don't know what does. Yeah. All right. So what do you say we start off this podcast with the biggest frog, the biggest elephant in the room, and that's your band 9, okay?
Okay.
So now, first question I got here is, why get a band 9? Why did you want to get a band 9 so badly? Is that because everyone else wanted to get a band 9 or everyone else is getting a band 9?
No, it's not just that. I'm not really interested in other people's opinion like we talked about it in the previous podcast, right? If you remember. So the reason why I wanted it really badly is because, as a teacher, you have to be really credible, right? So what you're saying should be really informative and you should be a trustworthy person as a teacher, especially in the IELTS world where you are surrounded with a lot of false information, right? And if you have that band 9, if you have that piece of paper, certificate, then you're going to be credible, I think.
So you're suggesting that 8.5 does not make you a credible source?
Well, band 9 is even more special,
More credible. It simply gives you an extra layer of credibility that 8.5 teachers don't have. I see.
No. Actually, there isn't much of a difference between 8.5 and 9, but I mean, if you have that band 9, it's kind of a personal validation.
All right, yeah, just admit it. It just sounds cooler, okay? When people ask you, what's your band score? You say like, casually, it's band 9.
Yeah.
It just sounds dope,
right? You can say that, okay? You can say that.
Okay. And just for the record, how many times have you said the test in total in your entire life?
I don't really know.
No, let's count it. Okay, let's give people a real.
No, seriously though. Like
number.
the first time I remember I took the test back in 2016.
Okay, that was your first attempt.
And then like I did the test in 2020 during quarantine.
Good. That's your second attempt.
Okay. And 2020, one more time, 3. Okay. And then like after 2021, I start to take the test more frequently. Maybe like once or twice
a month.
No, not so frequently. So once every season, I would say, like 3 or 4 times per year. Okay. And then back in 2023, it became even more frequent. Maybe like once every 2 months. Yeah.
No, I remember you used to take the test twice a month, sometimes 3 times.
Depends on the availability. Yeah.
So would you say you've done it more than 20 times?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like and there were also times when I filed a complaint, it got admitted, and because it's a CDI exam and your results are going to be released in like 3 days.
Oh yeah.
And until the test center processes your complaint, you get to see your result, but then it's going to be canceled. And so can you consider that as an attempt or?
Not officially, not technically, because you don't get a certificate.
Yes, but you know, it's really interesting. One day we need to sit and count the number of certificates.
I know you know what? This guy always have a habit of filing a complaint, even if everything goes great. Okay, test organizers hate this guy. Every time they see this guy, they go like, "Oh, here comes he again."
Let me explain this to you. Let me explain this to you again, guys. Yeah. So you are paying $185, which is just under $200 for this one test. And just imagine having technical issues, like, for example, your keyboard doesn't work correctly, or you have issues with your headphone during the listening test, or you have like background noise in the room, which is going to affect your test performance.
Or the room temperature is not good.
For example, like I remember
too hot or too cold.
I remember doing the test once in Tashkent. I don't want to name the organization, but it was the summertime, July 30th, and then the AC was not working because it was Sunday. Yes, and I had to do the test without the AC, and it definitely affected my performance. So I had no choice but to complain.
Well, did they have any kind of air circulation in the room?
Nothing. Just they opened the window and that's
that's ridiculous. That's
exactly,
preposterous.
And if something like this happens with students, they shouldn't be afraid because it's their right, And if they are paying $200, almost $200, and they should know that they have the right to complain. And sometimes students can be really shy, and because it can be their first attempt, and they don't do anything about it, and then they come to me and say, "Teacher, this happened. Like, what can I do now?"
Nothing. Literally nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they should know about this procedure.
Yeah. So now, how do you think your attempts are different every time? Like, how do you think your attempt this year is different from your attempts in 2023 and your attempts in 2022? Do you see that progression over time? Do you see that evolution in your performance? So if so, how would you describe it?
When it comes to reading and listening, the first time I took the test, you remember it was like double 8.5s, 8.5 listening, 8.5 reading back in 2016. And then the second time I took the test, it was double 9s in reading and listening, and it was it was my first CDI exam. It was double 9s, and then like some attempts after that. So it really fluctuates, like 8.59, 8.59 when it comes to reading and listening. But with writing, it's even more volatile. So sometimes you end up with a 7 with paper-based exams. Like I tried a couple of paper-based exams and ended up with a 7. And then I promised myself that I'm not going to take the paper-based exam ever again, And
in fact, you've never said the paper-based test ever since.
Yes.
Not a single time.
So the last time I took the paper-based exam was in 2022, I think. January. We did it together.
No, that wasn't in January. I think it was in May. I guess
actually, after me, you took a couple more paper-based tests.
Okay.
Yes.
No, there was this one time in May. I remember both of us going to the test venue.
But then
we did. It was
my writing
after
7.
January.
Yes, but then like you took the test once or twice more was one of the test centers, and you scored like 999s and 17.5, and it was a paper-based test.
It was.
You were dissatisfied with your writing.
It was. Now, looking back, I actually realized they gave me a pretty decent score, considering the fact that back then my writing was trash.
Okay. Yeah, actually, my next point is about writing and speaking. So my speaking back then was like lower, and I think that going to the US helped me immensely. So the first time I took the test, it was 7 in speaking, and then like after returning from the US, it jumped to band 8. And then like like consistent 8s and sometimes 8.5s and sometimes 7.5s. You see, I mean, it's subjective.
There was even one time I think you got a 7 in speaking.
No way. No, never.
It was a lady examiner.
Never.
Remember?
No. The lowest I got was 7.5.
7.5. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but never 7, right?
No.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like most of my latest attempts, I was given like 8.5s in speaking, so it was more or less consistent. And when it comes to writing, like it was, like 7.5s, 8s. And I was really happy when I scored 8.5 for the first time. And it was actually this year. I think it was January.
Yeah. So that makes your second 8.5 writing score, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you caught up with me. You did. I didn't realize that. Now he's got 2 8.5s in writing.
And I was shocked, like when I was given, not I scored, but when I was given a 9. So on my attempt on March 31st.
Okay.
Not long ago. But reading was 8.5. So it was 9, 8.5, 7.5, speaking 9.
Okay. Why did you say when I was given, not when I scored? Why did you change the language?
So the thing is, okay, so let me explain it.
I'm all ears.
Yeah. You don't get a score. You are given a score. And
how's that?
If God doesn't give you the score, you cannot get the score you need, So saying that I did it is not right, in my opinion. To my way of thinking,
Sure. And what was your reaction to getting a band 9? Like, how did you feel the moment you got that message? All right, and
let me tell you. Let me give you a little bit of background on this. So I took the test on February 28th this year. It was like a regular attempt: reading, listening, double 9s, and the writing 7.5, speaking 8.5. Okay, I said fine. Maybe I'll take the one skill retake if it's available in Bukhara in regions. Okay, and then I didn't really prepare for this much. Yeah, and I requested a score breakdown. It was fine. Task 2 was good, but task 1, I was given 6.5. Can you believe that? Task 2, 8.5. It was, I think, 8.9. Task response, CC, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. But task 1 was 7.6, cohesion 6, lexical resource 7, crazy. Grammatical range and accuracy, band 6. I was shocked. And I was like, sometimes examiners get really crazy, But I know that maybe they misunderstood my way of grouping. So like I came up with something unusual and they, didn't like the way I grouped things. And then I said, fine, appealing can be useless. So it can be a waste of just money. So why not go for one skill retake? And you can apply for one skill retake during 60 days of your original test date. So if it was February 28th, and they give you like 60 days, which is 2 months. So I thought like I can take the test at the end of April. But since it was not available, so I talked to IDP guys and they told me that they can organize an exam on April 28th. No. So that was a problem with the date. So the best thing they could do was April 9. I said, fine, let's do it. I was the only person in the room. So they organized one session for me.
Dedicated.
Yes,
for
exclusive
session for Mr. Alisher. I wonder what you're supposed to do to get that sort of treatment from IDP or British Council.
Nothing. I just text them, and if they can't do it,
Yeah.
they did me a favor, basically.
Yeah.
And then I went in there. It was one skill retake, so they took a photo, like usual procedure.
And how many guys were there? One or
Only
two?
one. Only me
one?
and one invigilator.
And they traveled all the way from Tashkent for
No,
that
basically
one session.
what they do is, so the way they organize exams in Bukhara is like once they come for paper-based exams, so they're going to stay here, right?
Stay overnight.
Stay overnight, and they can organize a CDI session the next day.
Oh, yeah.
So the exam dates are really dependent upon the paper-based exam dates. See what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And I went in there, standard procedure, but with one skill retake, you're not taking the entire exam, right? Just one section of it, and you can choose basically, and you can do it while registering. You pay, same thing. So in task 2, I was given a question about fatherhood. So it was basically all fathers should be entitled to have some time off work after having a baby. To what extent do you agree or disagree?
What a coincidence.
Yes, and for your record, guys, I've become a dad. Yeah,
Congrats.
So happy
last
for
him.
and yeah, the topic was quite relatable. Yeah, I think I did well, and I wrote 504 words for my task 2.
504 words.
So I thought,
are you sure that was not your task 1 and task 2 on the same page?
No, okay. No, that's not. No,
yeah, because that's what I was assuming. If you wrote 504 words, it's probably mistakenly wrote your task 1 and task 2 on the same tab.
No, I focused on addressing the question fully,
Okay.
And I didn't want my task response be lower. And actually, I was not looking at the word count because I was focusing on the quality. And then after finishing my essay, I looked at the word count. It was about 500. I was okay, this is fine maybe.
And did you have time to go back and sort of proofread your work?
I spent about 43 minutes on task 2, including proofreading. So I finished and went over my mistakes, scrutinized everything only once, not a couple of times, because I was lacking time for my task 1. And in task 1, I was given a process. So basically, students are quite afraid of maps and processes.
I remember one time you told me that when you get a process or a map, you might kiss 8 in writing a goodbye. Yeah, I remember you telling me this before. You literally said that if you get a process or map,
I've taken the test multiple times.
Yeah,
and
you kiss
with maps,
goodbye.
I'm really unsuccessful. But with processes, surprisingly, I've had processes 4 times, I think. Yeah, in 3 of them, I was given a really decent score. Based on score breakdowns.
Yeah.
Previously, I was given 8.5s for my process attempts, and I was quite taken aback.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, so this process looks good, really good, so I should do my best. And one more thing, I was really, stressed out about this test because, you have no chances to miss. Because
what do you mean? How do you mean that?
Look, 9.9, one skill retake writing, and speaking 8.5. So it was a good chance for me to score that 9.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did my best. And then 3 days passed. I was at home, having returned from work. I was having my food. It was 11 o'clock. And I checked my phone. I received an email, basically.
Okay.
So your one skill retake results are out.
But not the result has been changed or anything like that.
No, nothing like that. So
right. Before you clicked on the message, what was your thinking? What were you thinking?
No, I was
did you have
my heart started beating faster.
Okay.
So regular feeling. After you take the test, and then
did you have a feeling before you opened the message? Did you have a feeling?
I was really satisfied with my task 1. So I think I did a really good job.
Okay.
I was hoping for a good score, maybe 8, with a possibility of 8.5. So and then I opened, it was so the thing I saw for the first time was it was 9.
No, overall part.
Overall, it was showing the overall part.
Okay, so
and then I was okay, I was quite happy, and I went into the kitchen, and because my wife was there, and she was the first person to find out. And
okay, what was her reaction when she found out you got a 9?
She was quite happy. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
she was happy, and then I broke the news to my mom, and so they were all happy.
And then the staff, and then me, and then me. Last me. You shared the news last with me.
I mean, you're a member of the staff, right?
Oh yeah, that makes sense, right? Yeah, it's wild. It's so wild because we've been trying to get a 9 for past 2-3 years now, and you finally do it, right? So like finally you ticked that thing off your bucket list.
Yeah,
a 9, right? And so looking back, you think it was worth it? Do you think it was worth it? If you could go back and do everything all over again, would you do it?
Yeah, I think yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah, because like I feel like when you choose a profession, it doesn't matter it's nursing, doctors, engineering, anything. You should try to be the best at what you are doing, right? If you decide to become a football player, you should be the best at it. Right?
Okay.
So it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
You should be the best at what you do because you're trying to beat the competition, or because you.
I don't feel that there is competition.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's not about competition. It's about like personal challenge.
Good.
Like I said, and so you are pushing yourself to the limits, right? Kind of by chasing that 9, and it's a way of validation and proving to yourself that so you are good at this, and like you are a credible source of information for your students. Yeah, and as teachers, I feel like some of the students see us as role models. So if you have that perfect 9, you know, like, so they try to be like you, try to beat you. So it's kind of like setting an example.
Trying to beat you. I doubt any of our students is trying to beat our score.
But still, like,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
So it gives them ambition. It gives them like purpose.
Yeah, that's so right. Yeah. But at the same time, I want to make sure we are not sending the message out there that you have to have a 9 to be a good teacher.
Yeah.
Because you don't necessarily need one, because we don't want other teachers to feel insecure and inferior or inadequate because they simply don't have a 9. Because for what it's worth, a lot of the natives I talk to, they have no clue what 9 is. And they're not interested.
They don't care.
They're not interested in your 9 whatsoever.
Right.
All right. They can tell you speak good English. They can tell you are a good teacher if you can make your points clear, and you can speak 95% of the time error free, and that you're confident when you speak, or you're just kind and generous with your time in the class, and you're willing to help. If you just get the basics right, it doesn't really matter if you have the top score, right? Because I'm sure there are a lot of honest, decent teachers out there who don't simply have 9, or because they don't have the privilege of sitting the test as often as we do, but they're still doing an honest job at work. Yeah. So and I think we should give those teachers some credit as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, for what it's worth, guys, 9 is not as, I don't want to downplay it, honestly, and I don't want to take anything away from your achievement or my past achievement or the achievement of other 9ers out there. But when I talk to people from other industries, they are so baffled at how big of a deal we make out of 9. I have a little story actually prepared for this podcast. I'm dying to share it with everyone. You remember in last year when I was given a presidential medal for getting a 9?
Okay.
Yeah. So I went to Tashkent there, and so I went straight to the hotel where we were staying, and so I settled down. I unpacked and then had a change of clothes, and they were all in kind of a rush because we were being taken to a government place. Well, what do you call that place?
Awarding ceremony?
Ceremony, the venue where the ceremony is held, and it was all top officials and people, and we thought we were going to meet the president. Yeah, because normally the president is the one who hands out those awards.
Yeah.
But last year it was presidential election. The president wasn't supposed to be involved in any kind of awarding.
Okay.
So it was the senator instead. They sent a senator, I guess. So So we went there. I got the medal, and so did everyone else there. And then after the ceremony, I went around, asked people like what they do, right? Actually, during the ceremony, they mentioned their achievements, like the reason why they were there in the first place. But still, I was curious about what they do for a living, and they were all bright, young, talented individuals, ambitious, and about my age, my peers. So, and when they started sharing with me their life stories and their achievements.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Did you speak with them in Uzbek or English?
Okay, why you're exposing me here? But you should not be doing this. Okay, I'm getting
because I know that you don't speak in Uzbek in public.
I spoke little. Okay, and some of them, for the record, could speak English. So we spoke blend of Uzbek and English. Okay.
Okay.
God, why do you put me in the hot seat like that? Okay. So anyway, back to my story. So I was getting to know them in person, and one of them was only 2021 and already the CEO of a robotics company. CEO of a robotics company in Uzbekistan.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 2021. Another one won the first place in the world military competition. It's a military competition. It's when countries send the toughest guys to the world arena to compete with other countries, and he got the first place.
To represent the country.
Exactly. And then listening to their stories, I felt like such a loser. I felt like a sore loser. Like, I'm there because I can speak English. Come on, give me a break. Now, and then here's the worst part. Okay, just when I thought they couldn't get any worse, I packed my stuff and I was about to leave, right? And in the lobby, there were ladies too, actually, who were there to get the same award. And one of the ladies there was just sitting and just in the lounge area in a couch and getting a massage. There are massage chairs there, right?
Yeah.
And she was just casually laying back and
enjoying herself
with her eyes closed. And then she went like, "Hey, are you that guy who got a 9?" With her eyes closed, like she's literally lounging on the sofa, and she's like, "Are you that guy who got a 9?" I'm like, "Who's that girl?" "Oh, yes, ma'am, I did." Right, trying to be nice, and then she was like, "Okay, good job."
as if like she doesn't care.
Is that? Do you understand? Do you understand what's going on? That moment was real emotional damage. I left the building with emotional damage. Do you know why? Because she could not care less. Yes. All right. She was sitting in the couch so casually, uninterested, with her eyes closed. And she was like, "Are you that guy who got a 9?" "Oh, yes, ma'am, I am." It's like, "Okay, good job." It's like, not bad.
Yeah.
All right. So that moment I realized that getting a bad 9 is not really a big deal. In the grand scheme of things, like if you step outside of your area of specialty and realize that there are so many other bright, talented individuals, it's not that big of a deal, guys. So
that's right.
And looking back, I actually don't think of it as a moment of humiliation. I actually think of it as a moment that makes me reflect and try to not to get ahead of myself, right? Just remind myself that it's just a language test, right? It doesn't make you top of the world. It doesn't make you super smart. It doesn't make you a genius, right?
But from the perspective of teaching, don't you feel like it's quite an achievement? From the perspective of English teaching,
it is a massive achievement, right? But don't you think there is way, way, way too much hype around getting 9?
Yeah,
because I kind of feel like there is. It's so overrated. That's what I'm trying to say. Band 9 is so over, and I'm not saying this to take away anything from our achievements. Like I said, okay, it is quite an impressive achievement. But once you get a 9, and here's the deal, guys. You don't actually get to say this until you get a 9. You know what I'm saying? You don't actually get to say that until you get a 9. You don't quite realize that until you get a 9, right? Because you're in that phase. You're trying to catch up. but once you hit that milestone, you realize there are bigger milestones out there.
Yeah.
You realize how big this wild world is. So you're gonna want to go after bigger milestones. And I'm only saying that because I just sharing my philosophy here that once we hit this milestone, it's time for another one. It's time for bigger milestones.
And what's your next
and
milestone?
That's the question I have for you, because you're the guest today, right?
But you said it's going to be like a mutual conversation.
With me, I don't know. I mean, I do have my goals, personal goals. I'm not sure if it's the best idea to share them here in public on tape, because I just wanna walk the walk, not talk the talk.
But you do talk the talk in your podcasts.
No. I don't ever remember sharing my personal goals public. I did mention though once that we want to reach 1 mil with this podcast one day, but I'm not sure if it's happening anytime soon.
All right.
And when I actually said that to Alisher, he was one of the first people to laugh at this goal. Is like, good luck with that. It's going to take you at least 10 years. But you know what, guys? I want you to help me to prove this guy wrong, okay?
No, but I remember, guys. So one of the quotes by Muhammad Ali, he once told me that you should set goals that scare you. Right? Your goal should be, if they don't scare you, they are not interesting.
Yeah, they're not worth chasing.
They are not motivating.
Yeah,
exactly.
They're not worth chasing. They're not worth going after.
Yes. I mean, it looks hilarious to me.
Yeah.
But it's going to be quite an achievement if you reach like 1 million.
Yeah, it's going to be tough thing to do with this, the industry we're in, education. Well, like I said,
and our like target audience is quite like specialized. We are not covering like a wide audience, only English learners. Or
no, not necessarily. Actually, well, yeah. For now, our target audience is the world. I said that before. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Yeah. It is the world. It is the world.
Okay.
We try to make content on different topics. For now, it's mostly education, learning. But actually, the last podcast I had with Marco Arienti, it was on
spoiling.
But no, I'm not. Because when this podcast comes out, I will have released that podcast.
Oh, I see.
Oh, yeah. So the last podcast I had with Marco Arienti, we talked about politics, we talked about economics, we talked about business world, we talked about a whole range of different topics, and kids seem to love it.
Okay.
Yeah. Back to you again, Mr. Alisher.
You forgot my name, man. You forgot my name.
I actually feel weird calling you Mr. Alisher every time. You know what, guys? Before the podcast, he was actually telling me how to introduce him to our audience. Like, you should say this and that. And he literally told me that I should call him a boss. Okay, I'm going to call you a boss today. No, just kidding.
Okay.
So, are you going to be sitting the test again in the future?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And why?
Because like as teachers, I feel like if you don't take the test, you lose your edge. And if you are teaching a special like IELTS groups, you need to be aware of the changes in the test, right? And I made this point before. Yes, and like as a result of taking the test, like a lot of times, I realized that IELTS can sometimes give you maps in section 1. IELTS can give you like crazy task 1 graphs, or IELTS can give you like really difficult reading passages or very unusual question types. You see what I mean? Or taking a test quite often also allows you to experiment with different writing strategies, so that you experiment on yourself before you advise those strategies and techniques to your students. So it is a way of like experimentation and personal challenge again. And reaching a 9 doesn't mean that you are a perfect teacher. So once you get a 9, it doesn't mean that the next day you are going to get a 9, right? So I remember you making this point once you got that band 9 the first time. So you told me that reaching a band 9 is an achievement, but staying at that level is what makes you special.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I should try to maintain my fitness level, English fitness level. English fitness level. Yeah, and try to score quadruple 9s.
Are you kidding me right now? Did
No,
you guys
I'm
hear what he
not.
just said? Did you guys hear what he just said?
I'm
He's
not.
after a perfect 9.
And so
All
you
right.
are.
I don't remember saying that, honestly. Or did I?
I mean, why
Okay.
not?
I mean,
Why not?
why not? Right? We'll think about it. Okay, I'll think about
Yeah.
it. I'm not sure about this guy. Yeah, but I'll think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like things are the same. Nothing has changed, right? And like things will continue the way they are, and I'll keep taking the test more often
Yeah.
because that's part of my job and that's part of my life.
Yeah. But honestly, I don't think I can say the same thing here. I don't think I have the enthusiasm for getting a 9 again as I did before, because you see, my experience of having these podcasts and talking to different people made me realize that I might be better off spending this energy doing something else with my life, like SAT, like just picking up a book and reading instead.
Come on, man! It takes only like 3 hours.
Yeah, that's true though. That's
one
true
day
though.
doesn't take you much energy, and plus you don't have to prepare because you are preparing every single day by
Yeah,
teaching.
Exactly. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I might do it just for the sake of it, right?
Yes.
But another reason why teachers should be sitting the test regularly, but when we say regularly, how regularly? Maybe at least once a year, right? Once or
Let's
twice.
make it twice.
Once or twice a year is because sitting tests twice a year may not be within everyone's budget.
Okay.
But I guess the one time a year would be a bare minimum for any IELTS instructor, right, or anyone working in the IELTS industry. So, and we actually have this policy here at Astra, right? Our teachers are supposed to sit the test at least once or twice a year as a form of regular assessment. Like with public schools, they have their regular assessment. Their teachers are made to sit a test once
for a pay rise.
Yeah, for a pay rise, like once or twice a year. And I think IELTS schools, English schools, can also do with a similar system to keep to keep quality up to much and to keep their staff sort of motivated and
goal oriented.
Goal oriented and in shape with their English, right?
Yeah.
So that should be a good enough reason to sit the test
quite often.
Yeah, quite often, but not that often, I guess. So, right now, I guess we can finally move on to other chapters of our podcast, unless you have something else to share about your experience of getting a 9.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a regular attempt, one skill retake.
Yeah. Okay.
So just one section.
Clear. Now, since most people who watch this podcast are here because they want to improve their language skills and step up their game with IELTS, would you like to share with our audience some tips on how to improve their reading, listening, writing, speaking skills? Let's start off with reading.
Yes, with reading, IELTS in general is a vocabulary test, right? So if you have a good base of vocabulary, then you can understand the texts much better, right? And you don't have issues with comprehension. So this means that you can be really good at reading tests. So, I mean, they shouldn't trust teachers who say that there are secrets, so this is what you should do to get a 9. Just improve your vocabulary. It's a vocabulary test. So when it comes to reading and listening is the same. And I mean, they should expose themselves to English as much as possible, right? And they should listen to podcasts only in English. They should surround themselves with English. I know it's going to be really, really challenging because of the environment. We are living in Uzbekistan, and a lot of people speak in Uzbek and many other languages apart from English. So it's going to be challenging, but they should do their best. They should do their best, basically.
So can I make a quick addition to your point about reading?
Okay.
So, yes, reading is, I've said this before, is 90% vocabulary test. The other 10-20% is comprehension, right? I think it's something that often goes swept aside, that often goes unnoticed. Like comprehension, there is so much talk around comprehension, poor comprehension. And I feel like teachers do little in the way of helping students boost their comprehension, right? So something I'd recommend to students out there, as well as teachers, is spending more time trying to understand the text, not necessarily just looking the words up, but also trying to get a good grasp of what's going on in the text, maybe by trying to compare your interpretation of what you read with your friend's interpretation. Okay. So have a form of discussion.
Like we did earlier today?
Yeah, like we did earlier today, making sure you got the right idea, you got the right point. Because so what I see most students do when they do a reading test is they seem to simply read the text on the surface, but rarely do they consider the points in detail, in depth.
So what you mean is they are doing the reading test for the sake of finding answers,
right?
Not understanding.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you read a text, you have all these different points, and students think they're okay as long as they understand or locate the answer, or simply understand the key words in the text, but doing very little in terms of trying to connect those points, right?
Yeah.
So how do you do that? It's as simple as asking questions like, why does the writer say that? And what's the point of giving this example here? And what does this argument have to do with the argument made before? Or it's really interesting how the writer develops his points. He uses this research and another research to back up his own argument, right? So there is a lot that going on in the text, and I feel like students don't often consider it.
And by the way, quick question here. So how do you go about reading? Like, do you feel the entire text? Do you read the entire text first and then look at the questions, and then, or like read questions first and then try to stop?
Okay, so
once you find the answer.
Yeah, I can totally share my approach with you here, but I don't recommend you guys do take this approach unless you are already on like 38, 39 level, like very experienced student. So my approach to reading is I read the entire passage to completion, like from
the beginning
yes,
to the end.
Yes, from paragraph 1 to paragraph.
No stops.
No, without a break.
Can you remember everything?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay.
So because the way it works with me is when I'm reading a passage, when I'm reading a text, I imagine I'm talking to the author and he's sitting across the table from me, right? I'm having that conversation and I want it to be uninterrupted. Because I have all the confidence that if I just listen to the author, ask him my questions and pay attention to what he's saying, I can answer any question you ask me from that passage. It doesn't matter if it's true, false, not given, heading, gap fill, matching, whatever. It can be true, false, I don't know where, true, false, whatever it is, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what question type I get. As long as I read, understand, and comprehend, I'm confident I can answer all questions you asked. So yeah, I do it for the sake of keeping my focus the entire time. And I know how important it is to stay focused, right, when doing reading and listening test.
But at the beginning, like once you were trying to master this skill of like reading from the beginning until the end, did you stumble? What I mean by that is, like, did you have any difficulties? Like, did you make many mistakes at the beginning? Because I know that sometimes like reading answers are hidden.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is like they can be taken from a very small like piece of information, which you can easily overlook while reading.
Yeah. The devil is in the detail. Yes, you should pay attention to small details. And as for your question about how I developed this approach, it was basically I didn't really go ahead and read the entire passage and answered questions from the beginning. What I did was I split it into smaller, digestible chunks. So first, it was like 2 paragraphs at a time, but never one. Why? Or you can start off with 1 paragraph only. But what's really, 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 really important is that you first read the passage before you look at the questions. And I can't stress enough how important it is to do that if you want to stay focused. Because the way I see it is, when you read the question or when you look at the questions,
you're distracted.
You're distracted. You have to set aside some mental space to process and store that information, right? And then when you go and read the text, you're still thinking about the question, so you don't have full attention. You're not fully focused on the text. So I don't want that. So I want to read the text while I'm fully focused, and then look at the question with full focus. So I do it one at a time rather than try to multitask. And I think that's what often get in students' way when they're trying to do reading tests and score 9 out of 9, right?
And the point you made earlier about not recommending it to students, exam takers, is because there is another variable in the equation, which is time. So if they decide to read the entire text from the beginning until the end, they can end up spending like 10 minutes, let's say, or let's say 8 minutes. And then once it's time to answer those questions, they might forget, and their minds can go blank, and they, and screw up the entire text.
Right, and end up reading it all over again, which happened to me a few times. Yeah.
Yes.
So because sometimes catch myself, sometimes I catch myself kind of drifting away. My mind just drifts away. I'm just reading, and all of a sudden something comes up, and I start thinking about it, and then you realize you're doing a reading test.
Yes.
Yeah, that happens to me sometimes.
So can I make an addition here?
Yes, sir.
So with me, like I normally recommend students to read one paragraph and stop at the end of this, and then ask themselves a question. So what was this paragraph about? Summarize it in 1 or 2 sentences. So I think it helps.
Oh, yeah.
And then they should look at the questions, all questions once, and try to see if this paragraph participates in that answer. If it does, they should stop, pay attention to those details. They should highlight or underline and put a number, because it gives them a sort of reassurance that they found the answer in this part. So these are the paraphrases. Okay, I found the answer. I think it's an effective approach.
Yeah, it is.
They can try. Yeah, and unlike your approach, I normally recommend students to read the questions first, get familiar with them, unless it's heading, get familiar with them. And then once they're reading the paragraph, so if they find the place, because they remember those questions, right? Or at least keywords. Once they found the place, they can match more closely, and then it makes their job a lot easier, I think.
Yeah. But at the same time, you have to take into account the fact that questions might take up too much space in your head, right? They can be distracting.
I mean, again, there can be many techniques, but different techniques work well with different people.
Yeah. So
students should try and see
which one works
best for them.
Right.
But most of the time, I think it's more digestible, it's more manageable for students to read paragraph by paragraph, rather than like focusing on the entire thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like 3-4 paragraphs at one go.
Yeah. Please, people, don't do that. Okay, don't listen to me, because I'm telling you. Because my approach to doing the tests is not the most ideal approach. I know that from experience. Something I developed for myself, and plus I do it for the sake of it, right? But you're not here just for the sake of it. You need a concrete result. You need a concrete score. So you need a most tried approach. You need the most effective and most the approach with the highest ROI, right?
But like surprisingly, you can finish everything in 40 minutes.
Sometimes even less.
Yeah. That's quite surprising. And your accuracy level is quite high as well. Like, this is what surprises me. But with me, like I tend to spend like 50 minutes or 55 minutes even, to complete the entire thing.
I think it comes down to being focused. Like, focus is such a game changer. And being focused itself comes down to your habits. Like, what I personally do is, when a few days before I sit the test, or when I know I have a big event coming up, like a podcast is, I need to cut down on social media. I try to watch short content as little as possible to kind of, to detox my mind, right?
Do you have Instagram?
I do have an Instagram account, and I only use it to check Astra channel.
So how many subscribers do we have, right?
Yeah, and make sure that our SMM guy posting the videos regularly, as well as our results.
But you don't spend a lot of time on it.
I only watch YouTube. That's the only platform where I watch content.
How much time do you spend on it?
And sometimes Twitter. So YouTube. Well, roughly, I guess like 20 minutes. I'm very clear about that, like 20, 30 minutes.
Every
Try not to go overboard with it. And I only use it. So sometimes I like short content. All right, here's the deal. Here's how my mind really works. I know if I don't cycle the process of staying focused, like sometimes take breaks, I actually start being less productive, right? Because I'm too focused. Being too focused can be a problem because when you zoom in too much, you forget.
You start to overthink.
Yeah, or forget the big picture, or you get like stuck in your little world. Right? You got to learn how to zoom in and zoom out, depending on what kind of task you're doing, right? Because as a teacher, preferably you want to zoom in, and as a manager, you want to zoom out, right? And that's my thinking. And if I want to be a good teacher and a good school manager and principal and bunch of our podcaster, I have to be super flexible. So on those days when I know I'm too focused, and the way I know, here's how you can tell you're really focused. If you're able to develop a coherent thought in your mind for 15 seconds or longer, you're focused. I repeat, if you're able to develop a coherent thought in your mind for 15 seconds or more, you're focused. That's how I know, right? And on those days when I can't do that and my thoughts are all over the place, I'm distracted. And when I catch myself distracted, I say, okay, it's time for a detox. So no social media, no shorts for 2 days, 3 days. It works like a charm, right? Okay. And when I know I'm really, really focused and it's going great and I'm too focused, so focused that I start kind of losing touch with reality and start sounding weird to people. I said, okay, now I need to take a break here. I need to pump the brakes a little, right? So I give myself a little treat, scroll on social media for 20, 30 minutes or whatnot. Yeah, that's how it works with me, really. So yeah, back to what I was saying. So I feel like we went on a tangent here.
Yes.
So focus is a big deal. So if you want to see yourself do better in your reading tests, listening tests, writing, speaking, any of the sections, so you should fix your habits. Watch your social media screen time, the time you're spending on social media, your screen time, and how much you spend chatting with your friends or having fun, right? So you kind of bring down the dopamine level. So because if your dopamine level is way too high, you don't get much excited about reading. When your dopamine level is low, you get excited about reading, which is something I talked about on the podcast before with the guests I had. Yeah.
Yes.
Reading, listening. Moving on to writing. Yes, sir. Writing.
So with writing, it was the hardest part. I think it's the hardest part for every candidate, right? So with writing, I don't really know. Like sometimes I'm given 7.5s, sometimes 8s, sometimes quite rarely 8.5. So I think it boils down to the task you get. Yeah, a lot of it depends on the task because like some tasks can be quite uncomfortable. Yeah.
You mean like inconvenient tasks or something you're not familiar with?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or some question types even, right? So discussion essays can be like quite difficult to address sometimes. For example, let's say some people think that, other people think that, but it's quite a balanced approach, right? But you have to agree with, like, you can agree with one side, and if the side you agree with is not stronger than the other side, then you're going to lose marks for your task response. So it can be quite tricky, and task one can be a real bummer as well. Yeah. So you might get a map, or you might get a crazy huge table, which is quite difficult to address, and you have only 20 minutes for this. Yeah, it's a pain in the neck, you know. So then,
what are your suggestions for students who are stuck on 6th level and they're trying to go up to 7, possibly 7.5?
I think I made this suggestion before. They need to find a teacher. They need to find a teacher who can point out their mistakes. And that teacher should be really competent, credible teacher with a decent IELTS score. Because if they don't have a decent IELTS score, it means that they might not, I'm saying might not they aren't, but they might not be the right people to guide them You see, I mean, if a teacher has a band 8 or higher, I think they know what they're doing, or they at least can implement the things that help them, yes, and in their teaching and help their students. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And they should get a teacher and try to work on feedback they get from the teacher. Work hard. And we were talking about like Rome earlier yesterday, and you told that Rome was. I actually made this claim that Rome was not built in a day. So it takes a lot of hard work. No shortcuts, man.
Right.
So always practice. They have to write more. They have to research more. And actually, reading and writing are quite connected, right? So the more you read, the more content you're exposed to, the more structures you see. Yes. So the more essays you read, the more articles you read, and you start to recognize different styles and different collocations, different pieces of vocabulary. So I think this is how you can improve your writing. But just reading or just seeing is not enough. You have to implement them. You have to write more. Right. And with me, like I even take courses.
Oh, yeah, that's something else I've been meaning to ask you. Do you give any credit to the course you've lately been doing? And you've been doing it for almost a year now, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So you want to talk about that as well, let alone the podcast?
Yes, sure. So I should give
your teacher
recognition to all of my previous teachers, including like two Nasiba teachers, Juraif Tomlo, Mr. Tolib Tohtaev, Kamal Zaripov, to name just a few. You know, I've had many teachers who helped me to lay the foundation for English, right, in the past. But for the past like 2 years, I think, or a year and a half, not sure, I've known one person, one instructor from Russia, whose name is Irina Lutsenko, and I would like to say thank you, because she's the one who helped me immensely, especially in terms of writing. Yes, and she herself is a niner. She scored 9 like 3 times, I think. Writing 8.5 3 or 4 times. And every time she takes the test, it's like 8.5. Writing 8.5. It's crazy. So she's a writing guru, I can say.
Yeah. I think her essays got featured on British Council channel website, a few times. Yeah. Website or channel? Channel. Yeah, on Telegram, right? A few times.
Yes. Yeah. And they are masterpieces.
Yeah, she is. She's actually one of the few professionals I know who knows what they're saying. Like, because I follow her channel, and for the record, she's the only person I follow on Telegram. Okay. Apart from our own channel. Oh yeah. And she gives a lot of credible, useful advice.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more thing, with higher levels, it's extremely challenging to find out their mistakes, because if a person can write essays at band 7.5 or 8 level, I mean, that's already like strong C1 or right, strong C1 or at advanced level. So I mean, it's really difficult to say that it's band 8. This one is band 8, and this one is band 8.5, and this one is band 9, and the reasons behind that, and you know, the suggestions, appropriate suggestions for fixing those mistakes and elevating your score to a really good one. See what I mean? That's crazy difficult, and she's one of the few experts that I should thank immensely, and I'm really grateful to her.
Yeah. And guys, please let me know in the comments if you want to see her on the podcast one day, okay?
Yes.
All right. Now, how about speaking then?
Oh, speaking.
So with writing, your recommendation, your suggestion is get a good teacher.
Get a good teacher and write more. Yeah. Consistency is the key. So just getting a teacher who teaches you theory is not enough, of course, right? So that teacher might be really good, an expert with a 9 maybe. But if that teacher only gives you lectures, that's not enough unless you implement them, unless you you know, incorporate them into your own writing. Yeah.
Thanks for summing it all up. Now let's talk about speaking.
Yes, with speaking, I think the biggest I don't really know. For the record, I took the test last year, 2023, in December. I was given 7.5 for speaking, and I'm taking the test. No, actually, I was given 7.5 in August as well, 2023, August. And I'm taking the test in September with a different test center. I'm being given 8.5. Isn't it strange?
Yeah, maybe it was just a bad day.
Okay.
Yeah.
December 2023, 7.5. A couple of months later, March, speaking 9. Isn't it surprising?
Yeah.
I think a lot of it depends on on the examiner and your test day performance, and by that I mean the topics you get. Yes. So for example, we might interview one candidate and you might give that person a band 6. I can give them a band 7.
Yeah.
Can it happen?
Possibly. Possibly. Yeah.
Yes, it is possible. So, but generally speaking, what students can do is they should try to speak only in English. So with my classes, I think the biggest jump happened when I started speaking only in English after your suggestions.
This guy still sometimes cracks jokes in Tajik, and I hate it. Yeah, because old habits die hard.
Yeah. And after your recommendation, I started to speak only in English. Yeah, but with reading classes, when you're trying to explain things, explain stuff,
you should still do it.
It can get sometimes tough for students to understand you.
And that's a personal challenge for you. If you're not able to explain that even simpler terms, then you still quite don't understand it. This is what I was telling students the other day. There was a little situation in the class. A student, I was asking them vocabulary homework, right? And so the word that I asked the student was eclipse. And then the student said the meaning is overshadow. I said,
what does it mean, overshadow?
Yeah, what's overshadow, right? I'm just trying to elicit the word, make sure the student knows what he's saying. And then he's like, overshadow is overshadow, right?
So that means that student doesn't know the translation.
Right. No, he's like, I know the meaning, but I can't explain it. Well, what do you want me to do? He actually got a little bent out of shape. He was actually going to jump out of his seat and punch me in the face. Oh yeah, guys. And that's the reason why I hit the gym 3 times a week, okay? Just on the off chance I get attacked. No, just kidding. Anyway, so, and then I said, so what is overshadow? And he's like, I know the meaning, but I can't explain it. I said, if you can't explain it in simple words, then you don't know it. If you can't explain it in simple words, you don't know it. You ever watch those Wired YouTube videos where they bring an expert and that expert explains a concept, say in quantum physics, in 5 different levels? Level 1 to a kindergarten preschooler. Level 2 is school student, primary school, and then high schooler, and then university, and then uni grad, and then
postgrad.
Yeah, postgrad, and expert. So if you can only tell you know what you're saying, you know you've grasped the concept through and through, if you can explain it in all these levels. So unless you can explain something in very, very simple language, 2nd grade English, then you don't know it. So that's the way I see it. I should be able to explain that in the dumbest words ever. By dumbest, I mean very, very, very low level. So my job is to digest everything for students, right? So it's all clear, right? Unless I can do that, then I don't quite understand what I'm reading. So I think you should maybe take it as a personal challenge. So you're having a hard time explaining it in English, rather than take the easy way out. Take the way out, the easy way, which is switching to your native language, Tajik or Uzbek or Russian. Try doing it again in English in different words and different phrases. And this is what I attribute my success in. I don't know if you can call it success, but anyway, this is what I attribute my success in speaking and writing to, right? Because I can explain to you that same concept in all different levels. If you want me to say it formal, I can make it formal. If you want me to explain to you in very, very simple, dumb language, I can do that too.
But you have an advantage here.
Which is?
In that you don't talk to parents, you don't talk to students, lower levels. But with me, I have to constantly switch languages. Russian. Because I deal with parents. I deal with all the
sure. You get a
issues.
you get a pass Uzbek pass, no problem when talking to parents and some lower level students like the beginner program. But when you're in the class, you have to change your hat. Like you're not a manager or school principal anymore. You're a teacher, and you have like clear, strict codes you have to follow, like strictly English. This is my territory, right? And then that's the way I see it. I'm going to be honest. I've actually been lately speaking a lot of Tajik and Uzbek at the gym.
For real?
Yeah, because the people there come up to me and start asking me questions, and they're like, "Can you teach me English?" and do that. And if I keep pushing people away, eventually I know I'm going to end up a loner, and I don't really want that because that'd be sad, right? So I'm trying to find a way to connect with my community, and I know it means having to sometimes switch back to Uzbek and Tajik, but at the same time trying to maintain my habits at work, right? Yeah. All right. So, any other tips for speaking? Try to speak English all the time. Expose yourself to as much English content as possible.
Yeah, but again, like a lot of speaking boils down to vocabulary, yes, and memorization. I know that some teachers criticize memorization. By memorization, I mean rote learning. Yes, but to teach students in a very short time possible, I think we have no other choice but to make them memorize.
Yeah, and I guess it also depends on the level. Because I know,
with lower levels. So it's like babies. So they listen to their parents speak, and they pick up some expressions and the phrases and the words, and then they start to produce something.
Yeah.
So with beginner levels into English, right? So I think what they can do is they can memorize things. Yes. I know that after some time they're not going to remember the whole thing. But at least they remember like certain chunks or even like linking devices like however or but, right? Or yet, and try to incorporate them into their speaking. I think this is helpful.
Yeah, it is.
And with vocabulary, there's a wonderful book called Rachel Mitchell, but it's the author's name, so I call it simply Rachel Mitchell. It's called Academic Vocabulary, I think, the name of the book. I think we can send the link to it, in the description.
Sure.
So that students can access. And we have it on our channel, basically. I shared it back in 2021.
Yeah.
If not earlier.
Right.
So this is a wonderful book. Students can take words, collocations, expressions, and it's actually one of the books that helped me a lot to boost my vocabulary base in terms of writing and speaking too. Both sections.
Right. I see. Yeah, that's a lot of useful advice, guys. I wholeheartedly agree with everything he's saying here. Since we work at the same place, use the same.
We share the same strategies. And approaches.
That's right. That's right. Now, speaking of teaching, what's your philosophy? What's your philosophy in teaching? Like, what do you see yourself as when you're in the classroom, or say, what's your approach to teaching? Like, what does teaching mean to you?
Teaching is part of my life, and actually, there is a reason why I chose teaching. So, in the university, actually, my major is business information systems, which is a mix of business and IT, right? So, and in the university, I thought like I can be an IT specialist after I graduate, and I can be making six-figure sums, staying in an office, like working really hard, only on my laptop because I hate wearing a tie and a suit. So I thought to myself that I can see myself in the future like this. But at the same time, I was teaching. I had a part-time job because I needed some money to cover my expenses because life in Tashkent isn't cheap. You can relate to that.
Yeah.
So, and then it hit me in my third year that, okay, now I need to decide. So it's either IT or teaching. And like when I weighed up the pros and cons of both these spheres, I decided to go for teaching because this is what I like. And for your record, my mom and my grandma are teachers. So I felt like, okay, so I'm better at teaching. So why not go for this? And then like every time our students like get good results, I feel genuinely happy. I think this is what makes up job satisfaction, right? So I see teaching as a satisfying career, as a satisfying job, and I see myself doing teaching in the future. And my philosophy is like helping as many people as possible. And in the classroom, you made a good point some time ago. You need to be teaching as if this is your last class. Yes, you try to be. You should, show the best teaching possible. So you need to be the best teacher possible, like every single day. And as both managers and teachers, we teach like 4 or 5 classes a day. And I try to make sure that, and I'm still developing this, So when one student makes a lot of mistakes, you shouldn't let that bad feeling that resulted from that student affect another student's, feedback. Because like most of our classes are based on, so we both teach most of the time writing and speaking. So with me writing more, with you speaking more. Yes, so I try to keep my cool, not to lose my temper and yell at students. Yes, even if they cross borders. I try to, know my boundaries.
You mean like when they make a major mistake?
Yes. Yeah. So I try to, like I said, know my boundaries and don't go overboard with disciplining and teaching. I try to strike a balance. And sometimes I also think that it's also important to have an environment in the classroom which is not so relaxed, not so laid back, but at the same time not too strict. What I mean by that is it should be like a mix of both. Students should feel comfortable, but they should also feel responsible. So they should be afraid of teachers, and by this they can.
But not too afraid.
But not too afraid.
Not too afraid to ask questions.
Yes. Yeah. So they should do homework, because if you are not strict, if you're not able to enforce your rules, then students are not going to listen to you.
Okay, but by afraid, did you mean like fear or respect? Or you don't respect someone unless you fear them?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so you don't respect someone unless you fear them. Is that what you believe?
I think it's part of our culture. If a student, isn't afraid of teachers, at least by a bit, then they're not studying.
Yeah.
So it should be a mix of like both. So that's how I go about.
Yeah, just the same way. If a child doesn't fear his dad, he's just gonna
spoiled.
He's just gonna do whatever he wants,
exactly.
Right?
Yes, no limits.
Yeah. So it's not after all a bad thing if there is little fear element.
Yes.
Right.
With you, I know it works a little bit differently. So you give students a lot of authority.
Yeah, too much
authority. They feel free. But at the same time, what I like about your style is your students respect you, and they know that if they don't follow your steps, they're going to face the consequences.
Oh yeah.
Because you keep it simple.
Yeah.
They don't do homework. Goodbye.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Simple. But if they do show up prepared, then I'm gonna be the nicest person ever to them, because they showed me the respect of doing their homework. You show me the respect of doing my homework, I'm gonna be your best friend, best buddy, BFF forever. I swear. Okay.
But I think so. In this regard, we complement each other.
Yeah.
So you are like a good person, a good teacher. Me like a
good cop, bad cop, cop, bad cop. Yeah.
So this is how we balance things here.
Yeah. Perfect balance, right? Now, something else I want to ask on this chapter of the podcast is definition of an excellent teacher. So how do you define an excellent teacher? So if you remember, if you were to say put it in 3 or 4 words.
Okay, 3 words.
Yeah, sure.
And I mention it every time when we are having a staff meeting. I think we can call them as our core values, if you can call you that. That's DDR,
which stands for
dedication, discipline, responsibility.
Okay, sounds cool. DDR, dedication. He just Shazammed your words. I see. Are you out of your mind? Shazam doesn't work like that. Okay, Shazam is for music. He had the editor behind the camera, behind the scenes guys. He's Shazamming this podcast. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, let's stay focused.
Sorry, too much fun. So DDR stands for dedication,
Discipline,
and responsibility. Got it. Yeah. How about qualities of an excellent student?
I think we can say the same.
Okay.
No?
I don't know. What is your definition? Who do you consider a perfect student? A student that's right up your alley. Someone that you'd respect.
In the first place, students should be respectful.
Okay.
Respectful. They should understand that if they don't respect their teachers, they're not going to get a high score. Yeah, because like part of their score is dependent on their teachers. Yes. So there has to be like a good relationship.
Right.
And the second thing is responsibility. They should complete their homework. They should be responsible students. They should do their part, and then expect teachers do their part. Right. So that's respect, responsibility, and can you find one more R?
It doesn't have to be an R.
Okay.
Like it's your definition of a good student, of a great student.
And discipline.
Okay. Define discipline. What is discipline?
The ability to control yourself. So I know that these days, like teenagers, most of the time, they are surrounded by social media, friends, too many distractions. So I can say this based on my experience. I've been teaching since 2017. So that makes it how many years?
7 years.
7 years. And a lot of students are distracted. Once you check their phones, they spend a lot of time on social media, which is wasted time. So just imagine if they spend like 4 hours on Instagram, what would happen if they spend those 4 hours on homework preparation? That's a lot of like benefit.
That would put them ahead of their peers. They would put
that's a competitive advantage.
That would put them ahead of everyone. Like it's like you got to understand that everyone out there is trying to, as students, you got to understand that everyone out there is trying to compete for your attention. Video games, movies, TV shows, TikTok videos, shorts on YouTube, podcasts like this one. We all want your attention. Yeah, everyone is after your eyeballs, guys. So you have to be very, very, very selective in terms of how you spend your time, who you spend your time with, and what you spend your time doing.
Absolutely. Right? And their sleep routines. Yes, they need to have a strict schedule of what things to do and try to stick to that.
Yeah, I'm really glad.
Plan.
I'm really glad you finally changed your stance on sleep. Because
you were talking to students.
Yeah, no, I'm glad he changed his stance on sleeping. Because if you asked him the same question 5 years ago, he'd tell you not to sleep. He'd tell you to stay up late and do your homework.
And can I tell you this?
Yeah.
So we were doing a reading passage with students from Trainer 2. It was about sleep.
Okay.
It's a reading passage by Matthew Walker. So he's a sleep expert, and he says anything less than 7 hours is sleep deprivation. I think what he says makes sense. So if you can experiment it yourself. If you get less than, let's say less than 6 hours, then you start to feel grumpy and sleepy, like in the afternoon, like 3-4 o'clock. And you tend to feel irritable, yes, to other people, to people around you. And like you tend not to be focused on what you're doing, right? Yeah. And you tend not to like your friends, the color of their clothes, right? Yeah. I mean, anything in the world like doesn't appeal to you.
You just get irritable, right?
Exactly, yes. Yeah. And this means that your day can be ruined by just one factor, which is sleep. So you have to take it extremely seriously. But again, at the same time, you shouldn't go overboard with it. By that, I don't mean sleeping 10 hours. Yeah. So you have to know your limits. Yeah. With some people, 6 hours might be really good. It's a good timing.
Yeah, like but a with sweet other people, spot.
Yes. I know that you sleep like 6-7 hours.
Yeah, seven. I always make sure I get 7 hours.
But with me, like I need 8 hours. Yeah, I'm not. Okay, I'm okay with that. People know. So yeah. they should explore their bodies, like how much time do they need, and
just listen to your body. Your body tells you how much sleep you need, but don't listen to it too much though. Because your body sometimes tells you to stay in bed all day long.
Right.
Right.
So that's why they have to be disciplined. So that's part of discipline.
Yeah. So alarm clock rings, you wake up. All right. You make a promise to yourself the night before. Set an alarm clock. Say I need 7 hours, and I'm waking it the moment my phone rings.
So is that what you call circadian rhythm?
Mm-hmm.
Your body clock.
No. I said your phone rings the moment your phone rings.
I mean, like by exploring your body.
Mm-hmm.
So that's circadian rhythm, right?
Oh yeah, you can train your body to wake up at certain time of the day in the morning.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. And eventually, you're gonna be able to wake up without an alarm clock, right? Okay, I think we're done with the education chapter of today's podcast. We did a lot of talking on education.
Okay.
And I know there are people who tune in to watch this podcast because they know we also run a school, so they'd like to know how we go about running a school. So what do you say we talk a little about school management as well?
Yeah.
So number one question I got here on my list is, what's your personal management style? So how do you go about managing people? And I know we, in some regards, differ when it comes to school management, right? So what is your approach to management? And then maybe I'll talk a little about mine as well.
Absolutely. So this question reminded me of a quote in the Focus On book. It was presented in a hilarious way by a funny picture. And it had a short text. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, which means that we should probably be listening to people more. And that makes a lot of sense. And when I encounter a problem in management, I try to listen to all the parties involved. Because if you listen to only one party, your decision can be biased. Yeah, it can be unjustified. And then I try to make a decision. For example, let's say that there is a situation with a teacher and a student, and teacher is saying that the student isn't like doing homework, and that this student needs to be expelled. And we have a policy of expelling students. Yeah. Because if they don't follow our advice. And then I try to talk to a student individually in person without a teacher, because if they are in the presence of a teacher, they might be afraid to talk. So I try to listen to them. Maybe they have problems at home. Let's say they might have a little brother who doesn't allow them to complete their homework.
You mean like rowdy sibling?
Exactly.
Naughty sibling.
Yes, which means that they don't have conditions, right environment to complete their homework. Or some of them confess that they spend too much time on social networks, and I try to discipline those students, and I make them delete their distractors, get rid of them fully, and focus fully on their studies. Sometimes it helps, right? And we have had students who can be in a relationship with someone else. I mean, that's like a puberty period, and so. I mean, it can be quite common among teenagers.
Just
typical teenage
just fall in love and just going on dates and texting back and forth.
Yes.
Sending each other love letters or whatnot.
Yes.
With
messages,
with cute stickers and emojis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what I can do is because like part of our job involves, disciplining, not just teaching, and because we are a cram school, so we are responsible for children because parents trust them to us, and they pay money for this, and we should feel responsible for those children as much as their parents are. And I kind of feel like I'm responsible for that kid, and I try to treat them like my brothers and sisters. How would I act if I had the same situation with my brother or sister? And I try to call their parents. I know that sometimes students cry, sometimes they throw a tantrum. Say, teacher, don't call my father, please, if they find out they're going to kill me.
Okay. Maybe it's not that bad. Okay. He meant it metaphorically. Okay. Metaphorically.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Because some people take it literally. Please don't say that here.
No, but I mean, I try to find a compromise. And sometimes it helps, so in management, I'm also a disciplinarian. So, and with teachers, I try to be as understanding as possible. Yes. And I try to explain to them that we should do everything that's in the best interests of students. And in the worst cases, we expel students. Yeah. If they don't comply, if no measure helps them, if they are completely lazy, if they don't follow even their parents' advice, their sayings, our advice, then we have no place for such students. Yeah. So I try to listen to all the parties involved and try to make the the best decision possible.
Right. How do you go about then dealing with staff members, dealing with, say, our teachers? So when there's a problem with the teacher,
like what do you mean by like?
Say specifically, they're not happy about their pay, or they're not happy about the school conditions.
So one of the values we have is transparency. I try to explain to them that with conditions, I think it can be improved. Yes. So I'm responsible for maintenance. I'm responsible for like even fixing outlets.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge problem. It can be fixed. Or if there is a problem with AC, we can call the master and have it fixed. It's not a big issue. But when it comes to pay rate, I think our pays here are quite competitive. And so far, we've had only a few instances of this happen. And we have addressed them in staff meetings accordingly, I think.
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a problem.
And how do you go about then motivating staff? So what's your approach to motivating staff?
So when it comes to motivation, I think you are more of a motivator than I am.
Why would you say that?
Because motivation can be of two kinds, extrinsic and intrinsic. So we try to implement both. Yeah. So we try to keep our staff motivated extrinsically by giving them financial rewards. So when their students get good results, so they're getting properly compensated for that, for them. And intrinsically, you need to set meaningful goals for your staff members. Yeah. And you should not treat them as like just regular people. You should be always there to listen to them. You should have therapy sessions because like you stated earlier, we have a policy of compulsory tests, taking IELTS tests compulsorily. And sometimes they can get like very low scores and they can feel down and they can start questioning themselves, their credibility, and say that maybe I'm not built for teaching. Maybe I'm not cut out for being a teacher, right? And
maybe my English is not as good
my English
as I thought.
It's not that good. It's not up to standard to be in this profession and to work as a teacher. And then you try to lecture them a little bit and have a therapy sessions with them, so-called therapy sessions. And most of the time, it's you who conducts them. It's like a lengthy talks where you go about like everything, starting from life, relationships, like personal issues. So he's more of a how do you call them? Therapy doctor.
Yeah, they call the term for it is a shirk. I think they use a shirk, school shirk. And
because like we have divided our responsibilities, and like I'm not that much involved in like motivation.
Hang on a second. I'm not sure if it was a shirk or a shrink. I think I should look it up.
Yeah,
shrink. I guess it's a shrink, not shark. Shark responsibilities, like when you dodge responsibilities, it's actually shrink. Shrink is someone, psychologist, a colloquial term for a psychologist. Yeah. Okay. And what do you think are some of your personal strengths and weaknesses when it comes to running the school?
Oh man, that's
because I want you to take a moment, because sometimes I do it personally, sit down and think, what are some of my strong suits? But I don't really think about my strong suits. I'm mostly thinking about my weaknesses, because I'm trying to always get better at managing the school, doing my part alongside you. So what do you think are some of your personal strengths when it comes to heading people, leading people, and what are some of the areas for improvement?
Okay, I think when it comes to strengths, I'm quite approachable. So like any student or any staff member can approach me at any time.
I can personally confirm that, okay? Because every time I say no to teachers, they go running to that guy. Or like, we're going to go to Alisher teacher now.
Yeah, and I try to be as helpful as possible, because if there is an issue, it has to be dealt with, right?
Yeah.
And there has to be someone who is a problem solver.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I try to be nice to people.
Mm-hmm.
I try to know my limits, and I try to not go overboard with disciplining.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And yeah, when it comes to weaknesses, if you can call that a weakness, I can be quite strict.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I can be quite, I don't know, lose my cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I can act out of principle, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that I shouldn't be doing so. So I shouldn't be as principled as I am.
So, and how do you intend to work on those areas? What something do you think you can do to personally fix those character flaws?
So in the last staff meeting, we talked about the importance of emotional intelligence.
Not we, one of our...
all of us.
We did, but the lecture was given by Ms. Markaba.
I mean the quiz. I mean the quiz.
Yeah, right.
We did together. It was really interesting.
I just want to give her some credit, because I know she's going to watch the podcast, and if we don't mention her name, she's going to get that.
Yeah, it's a good thing that she brought this topic up, and it was quite a unique one. And we found out the importance of emotional intelligence, and like in the future, emotional intelligence can be, if not more, important than IQ, which is intelligence quotient. Yeah. So I should do more research on emotional intelligence, because it is an important part of management, and try to fix my weak areas.
Yeah. Something that's personally worked for me, and I'm not sure if I get a say in this matter, but this is something I noticed early on and been trying to work on, is self-awareness. Like the moment you're dealing with other people, so you should just take a step back and ask yourself how much of what you are thinking is
applicable.
Yeah, is how much of what you're thinking is objective, and how much of it is based in your
reasoning.
But no, that's the objective part. And how much of it is based in your personal feelings or your perception of that person.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got to be able to take everything in your mind and group it into, that's how I feel, and that's what it is, like fact versus emotion. And it takes a lot of self-awareness to pull yourself back and take a moment to think about that. So how much of what I'm thinking right now, what I'm feeling, is based on my personal prejudice, and how much of it is the facts of the situation. So I need to draw a clear line between the two. So I'm thinking that I'm feeling that because of this past instance I had with this person, but I should not let this affect this new situation, new experience I'm having with this person.
Okay.
Yeah. And I should also give them the benefit of the doubt and assume that they might be right.
Okay.
And I might be wrong. And that alone takes a lot of self-awareness. That takes a lot of, so this is something that's served me well a lot when it comes to dealing with people. Yeah. And
that's a good suggestion.
Yeah. And I hope it will work for you too.
Yeah. And with me, I try to put myself in that person's shoes. And experience the same emotions and feelings, but that's only like one part of what you said.
Yeah. But I think that may not be the best idea. Putting yourself, yes, you should be empathetic, but sometimes when people come up to you with their problems, right? Half of the time, if not more often, their problem is an illusion. It's not even a real problem. You might want to actually help them realize that that problem is simply a byproduct of their fear or past trauma.
Okay.
Yeah. If you can actually convince them that, you realize that the situation is not actually as bad as it is. It's not, they simply make a big deal out of it. So yes, you should try being empathetic, but at the same time, make sure their prejudices, their biases, their fears don't dilute the situation, right? So, in simple words, you have to be very, very, very objective, and to do that, you have to be self-aware. Only after you understand yourself can you help other people understand themselves. And then once you get two objective-minded people, you can get the optimal solution.
I'm guessing that this is crazy challenging to master. I mean, you're explaining it. It looks too complicated.
Yeah. It's. I'm just trying to be very.
It takes a lot of observation and practice.
Yeah, I'm trying to be very. Trying to go in detail about my thinking process, my approach to dealing with people.
But let's say you're in a situation when you are talking to a parent, can you do this whole thing in a split second?
No, that's why I don't talk to parents. That's why I don't talk to parents.
Because it takes a lot of thinking, a lot of reasoning.
So if I were to talk to parents, because I know actually there's gonna come a day where you are gonna be gone for a few weeks on a vacation. I'm actually preparing myself for that. I have a feeling this is happening one day. Even if it's not, I should prepare for it.
Okay.
When you're gonna be away gone, I'm gonna have to deal with parents myself. All right. And when that day comes,
speak Tajik to them.
and when that day comes, I'm gonna have to have a dedicated room for that, and I'm gonna have a dedicated office hours, right? And then I'm gonna have to do my best to deal with those problems remotely over the phone or texting, right? And only in extreme cases will I be talking to parents face to face.
So you are delegating your responsibility of talking to parents mostly to administrators and managers.
Yes, and teachers.
Okay.
Until you come back to my...
Unless I'm here.
Yeah, until he comes back to my rescue. Yeah. But with parents, though, I think number one thing you should do when you're talking to them is you should convince them that you should be able to convince them that you're trying to help them. If they get the idea that you're trying to play the defense on defense, you're trying to stand up for your own party, the teacher or the school, they're not going to want to listen to you. Because they know you're not listening to them. They know all you want is to prove yourself right. So number one thing I think you should do is to convince them that you are there to help. You are there talking to them with their interest in mind, with their interest at heart. And the way you do that is, I think you need to sit them down. This is not something you can do standing, and that's something I disapprove of when you talk to parents. And for this reason, we should have a dedicated room, because only then people can kind of settle down, breathe, right, and start talking to you in rational mind. But when they're standing, they're kind of stressed out, especially when they're in the lobby, when there are people walking around, because they feel attacked. They feel out in the open. It's like a jungle. You understand? Yeah. And everyone is watching them, right? Which makes them even more anxious. I think this is something we should work on here. Like dealing with parents, we have to have a dedicated room for that.
Yeah, we can probably do that.
Yeah. Okay. A lot about management. And one last question I have for you for this chapter, management, is, and it's like a thought experiment.
Absolutely.
Okay. What would you do if you were the only principal of this school? What are some policies or things you would have done differently if I wasn't part of this? Because I think about that sometimes too. I'm not gonna lie, because my job is to kind of compare, contrast different management styles and try to come up with something that
works best.
Yeah. Because I always have the school interest in mind, not my personal interest, not your interest. Because I've treated the school as a separate identity now, which is something we were taught actually back in university, if you remember, right? Yeah. Company is a separate entity, right? Right, because we want to make sure that the school stands long after we're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is something you would do differently if you were the only head principal of the school?
I don't think that I would do anything differently. Because like we talked about this before, we take decisions collectively, right? So everything that's being implemented in this school has been done together. Yeah. So we take this. If things need to be different, then we do it right away. We consult. We try to, talk it through. Try to explain and look at the pros and cons. Yes, and then take a decision.
Yeah.
So if there is something that needs to be done differently, then
I would know.
yes,
I would know.
You would definitely know.
And that's what I really appreciate about you. And that's what I really appreciate about the school in general. The level of transparency is unbelievable. I don't think people out there understand that. We are so transparent about our dealings here. We're so transparent about how things are done here. Like, because I wholeheartedly agree with what he's saying here. If there's something I want to be done different at the school, I let him know in an instant second, in a heartbeat. I can't go to bed that night with that thing in my head. I can't sleep. So I have to get it off my head. I have to get it off my chest if it's a problem, right? We need to talk this over. We need to hash it out, and then we can move on, right? So I'm glad we see eye to eye on many matters here. A lot of the matters, all of that matters. Yeah. Okay. So I was going to ask you some questions about social media, moving on, but we kind of talked a lot about it.
Yeah, touched on this topic.
Yeah, but I still have one question I want to ask. Lately, you haven't been posting as much on social media, like your essays or reflection posts. Is that because you're simply deep in, you're buried in work? You simply have a lot on your plate. Like, what's the problem?
I have a lot of responsibilities. Right now, I have about like 50 messages unread, and most of them are unchecked student paragraphs.
Yeah.
So because in our lecture classes, like I may not be able to check everyone's work, and then I ask them to send those messages to my private, because in the essay classes group chat, so the essay classes group chat is used by like multiple groups, and their messages might get,
Lost.
Yes. So I make them text me in person, and I even, can't find time to check those essays because of like management problems here, not exactly problems, but management aspect of things. And apart from that, like I've recently become a dad. So you know about that, and people might not know that. So I've become a dad. Right now I have like a lot more responsibilities. Yeah. And I have to spend some time with my child as well. Yes. And I am one of the breadwinners in my family. So I have to be involved in my family as well. So I kind of feel that, and I have to do some grocery shopping, like I have to run errands, right? If I have to, like, I can organize like family functions. See what I mean? So things have been really, really hectic, especially over the past like 2-3 months. And I haven't been posting essays, I think, since the start of 2024. I mean, I am active on the channel. I can post from time to time, but not as often as you are posting essays. And plus, in writing classes, I've changed my approach a little bit. So I'm not writing full essays anymore. So I'm writing only paragraphs, like introduction and body 1 or introduction and body 2, right? So that I can check like more students' work. Because when things are shorter, you can manage more people to check more people's work. But in the past, it was a little bit different. So we used to write like full essays, and I used to check only like 5-7 people out of like 20. And other students were like a little bit disappointed about that.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't mean that I'm not writing essays. I am writing essays. Like I said, I am taking courses, writing courses, and this is what makes me write. Sometimes I'm being lazy. I admit that. I'm not writing as often as I should, but it doesn't mean that I'm not working. I am working, just don't have time to post.
But our audience can expect some content from you in the days to come, right?
Yeah, since you brought it up, I can share some of my essays.
And not just text content, but also video content. Hopefully one day, right?
Great idea. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, right. All right. So let's just finish off this chapter of social media and management and move on to our next chapter. And now we're going to go from professional life to personal life. Okay. So since you've recently become a dad, I want to talk a little about fatherhood.
Sure.
Yeah.
No problem.
Right. So what was your reaction when you got the news?
I mean,
when you found out you're a dad,
you feel deliriously happy. I mean, you cannot describe it with words. Yeah, it's a like a feeling of joy mixed with excitement, and you shed tears.
You did? Did you cry?
I mean, listen, man.
Did you cry? Did you cry?
Yes.
Oh, he did. Are you kidding me? You did.
I didn't cry. I shed tears a little bit.
Okay, all right.
Because I mean, that's happiness. I think this is the definition of happiness.
Tears of joy. Yeah.
Yes.
So you did. Now we got it on tape, guys. Okay, someone please cut this part of the video. He admitted he cried. Good. All right.
And you feel a lot more responsible. Because I actually talked about it on the last essay I wrote about fathers being given a paternity leave. So yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. So your family has increased by one more member. So you have to be responsible for their upbringing. You have to be responsible for their discipline. You have to be responsible for their, environment, everything. You are a whole different person now. You have to set an example. You have to be a role model for your kids. Yeah.
I actually have a story for this one. It's not really a story about you becoming a dad. It's a story to kind of tell you guys how much it means to become a dad. The other day, I was at the gym working out with my trainer Vadim, right? And so it was like leg day. So we were, and I was doing intense training for the first time after my back injury. And so I was all kind of huffing, puffing, and all red, right, covered in sweat. And he was gone for like 3 minutes for a bathroom break. And when he was back, he saw me. He's like, "You look all red. Is everything okay?" It's like, "No, I'm fine. Don't worry." He's like, "You sure you're okay?" I said, yeah, I'm fine. It's like, "You sure you can lift this heavy?" Right? Because we were loading up more weight. And I said, "I'd rather," and I said, I like throwing around some, fancy words there. And
in Russian?
No, not in Russian. And I just tried to play around there. So I told him, I said that I'd rather die here at the gym than
not being able to lift.
Not be able to lift that weight. Yeah. That's what I literally said to him. And then he said, no. I don't want that happening. Think about me. Like I have a daughter. I have family.
Okay.
Right? Because if something bad happens to me, if I get injured, he might lose his job as a result, right? Yeah. And when he was, and it was all joke and playing, and I took a moment and thought to myself, like, when he said, like, "I'm gonna lose my job," first thing he mentioned was his daughter. First thing he mentioned was his daughter. He did not mention his wife. He didn't say what about my wife or anything. He said, like, my daughter. And that was his instinctual response. That was his first instinct, to protect his daughter.
Okay.
And that made me think about you. That made me remember you. It's like, now I see why this guy is so different. Why this guy is so
busy.
Yeah, busy these days. Like, and serious about being a dad. because it's just different. It makes you a different person. It makes you a different man.
It's not like teaching and managing a school where students come and go. Yeah, I mean, of course, you feel responsible for them. You feel responsible for their results. You treat them like brothers and sisters. But when you become a dad, it's a whole another level of responsibility.
Yeah, yeah. It was just so mind blowing.
Yeah.
Let's say when his instant reaction was, "What about my daughter? My daughter. I have a daughter." Like that was his instant reaction. First thing that came to his mind.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. He wasn't thinking about himself. He wasn't thinking about his wife or anything. His first reaction, my daughter.
And you can't imagine like how much responsibility is that. And like I may be all day long here at work and get to see my daughter only like in the morning and at night. But with moms, it's like twice more responsibility. You have to be there for your kid whenever he or she cries, or you have to be able to prepare food for the baby and the entire household. If you are the only person responsible for cooking, you have to do household chores. You have to take the child to regular checkups, vaccinations, doctors. If something isn't right, somebody has to be there to go to a pharmacy. See, that's a lot of work.
On a scale 0 to 10, how hard do you think being a dad is compared to all other responsibilities you have?
I mean, that's incomparable. That's incomparable.
It's like,
no, it's not that. I mean, other responsibilities, like, I don't really know, but being a dad feels different. Okay. You cannot really scale it. You cannot really gauge it.
It's like off the scale. It's off the charts.
Right.
It's that hard.
No, it's not about like hardness. I mean, it may be hard, but in the end, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
So I got 2 more questions about being a dad, okay? And if you guys are wondering why I'm asking him all these questions, is about is kind of preparing myself. Because I know when I'm a dad, the first person I'm going to turn to for lessons and advice is probably going to be this guy, okay? So I just want to make sure this guy knows what he's saying.
Yeah, no problem.
Right? So what are some important lessons you want to teach your child from a very young age? Have you thought about it?
Yes, I have. I have. So the first thing I am planning to teach my child is religion, because this is really, really essential that she knows. I mean, it may be too early for her to understand the meaning of life, like why are we here? But eventually, I think if you start from an early age, the earlier you expose her to religion, then it's going to be beneficial later on. It's going to yield benefits. And the second thing is definitely education. So I'm planning to, like, this is my plan. Actually, before having a baby, like I was talking to my wife and saying her that if I become a dad, I'm going to allocate at least an hour every single day for our child's upbringing. So I'm going to come, doesn't matter, however hard, however tired I am, I'm going to separate a certain amount of time every single day for her education, because this is what happened with my dad. I have a sister, and I remember that he used to come from work tired, exhausted, after having food. In spite of watching TV, he used to teach my sister how to read at the age of 5. I think this is really, really important. And due to this early exposure, my sister didn't find it hard to adapt to school, primary school. And she got admitted to university on a scholarship basis.
Wow.
She scored 7.5 in IELTS.
Yeah.
On the first attempt, and you remember her.
Yeah, I do. She was our former student.
And she is such a bright mind.
Yeah.
She's good at math. She's good at English and other subjects as well.
So you attribute her success in education to getting a head start in education with the help of your dad.
Yes. I think this is really, really important. And this is one of the factors that many parents overlook, because like a child's mind is like a sponge. Yes. So it absorbs everything. So if the earliest thing you do is education, then they are going to adapt their mind towards that. And I think the rest of the process is going to be a lot easier, rather than giving them the phone and making them watch YouTube just because they want some peace, the parents' peace, you know.
Yeah.
I think the role of education is crucial.
Yeah. That's admirable. That is, I'm sure I'll probably do these exact things, things with my future kid.
Yes,
one
and
day.
this is what I mean by family time. So once you go home, there has to be like a family time, you know, not just having food together, but, you know, like
catching up.
Yes.
Yeah,
like
talking.
for extracurriculars.
Right.
And not just your kid, you also have to allocate some time to your wife as well, because you haven't maybe seen her, if she is going to be a housewife, seen her for a day, and you guys need some time to catch up. And
yeah, we can go on dates once a year. Okay, that's about
that's
it.
That's
about
too harsh, man.
That's about it. Okay, one date a year. That's plenty. Okay. All right. One last question for fatherhood is: so, what's the first language you're gonna teach your baby girl?
Probably Tajik.
Not English.
Not English.
Not English. Tajik first.
No, because listen, I've seen instances when a parent is multilingual, Russian, Uzbek, English, and they try to teach their children like different languages from an early age. It's because you gotta understand that to be good at English, you have to be good at mother tongue as well.
But listen, your baby is like a blank book. So she's gonna speak. She's gonna know what you write on this book. So if you teach her English from zero, like from the moment she starts talking.
With that example, like parents mixed everything up. You need to understand that child is not growing up in an English-speaking country. So if that were the case, then I could probably speak only in English and expose her to English and a little bit of like mother tongue. But my personal feeling is that they have to understand like grammar and the alphabet and the concepts in their mother tongue first, before they learn foreign languages, because like the basics are the same, like grammar, noun, verb, right? So if they are good at their own language, mother tongue, then I think the rest is going to be easier, hopefully.
How about the OPOL approach? For those people who are wondering what that is.
That was an article about this.
It's one parent, one language. Like you always speak English and her mom always speaks Tajik.
To a child.
Yeah, that's the OPOL approach, which is something I have in mind for my future kid.
So you're planning to speak only in English, and the mom is expected to speak
whatever language she wants.
I mean, I don't really know.
Yeah,
but I think like with kids, it's going to get all mixed up and not be so effective.
Yeah.
But the suggestion I made earlier, exposure to education from an early age. I think if you set an example, instead of like once you go home, instead of like sitting on your phone and playing games or like scrolling through your Instagram feed or Telegram feed, if you be an example and be a role model, then I think your kid is going to follow in your footsteps and develop that love towards teaching. And no language can be a barrier, can be an issue.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting perspective. Right. Do you have any personal pursuits outside of? I know it sounds like an absurd question asking someone who's always busy, but what do you do for personal entertainment, leisure? Do you like listen to podcasts, read books, watch movies?
I'm crazy about cars.
Yes.
So in my free time, like maybe at night before like going to bed, I can turn on YouTube. I can go on YouTube and
watch car reviews
and detailing and car prices. And because I'm really interested in that, I don't really know why.
He's a car
maybe it's because my YouTube feed shows me that.
Because you always watch car videos.
Probably.
Yeah.
And my wife was telling me earlier that I've recently upgraded my car, and then my wife was telling me that you have upgraded your car. Why do you need car videos? I was like, I don't really know. I'm just interested in them, you know, and tunings and the different specifications.
Right.
So, I mean, I think every man is interested in cars, or no?
Not exactly. I'm not a big fan of cars, really.
You are?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. As long as I can go from A to B, I don't mind what model car I'm driving or I'm being driven in. So,
okay.
So, what's your dream car then?
Mercedes.
Mercedes. Well, why Mercedes?
Comfort. Comfort.
Okay.
And actually, I make jokes in the classroom sometimes. Some students have a BMW has a special model of like special edition cars, M package. So some students have that M logo right next to their names, and I tell them that AMG is better. So AMG is the special model of cars by Mercedes, basically. So these two are like competitors, but I like Mercedes more. I don't really know why, but that's probably because of comfort. So I prioritize comfort over speed.
Right. So when you say the comfort, you mean like the seatings inside,
like leg room, like the different like comforts of your car, like seats, maybe your display, your
and like the AC quality,
roof, and like everything in the car, like the entire setup.
So if you could afford any car in the future, that would be BMW. Right.
Mercedes.
Mercedes. Yes. Mercedes. Sorry.
I'm not really crazy about supercars because they can have like a, really tough suspension system. So what I mean is they might not be as soft. Yeah. And I don't really want to spend like too much money on like very expensive posh cars like Rolls Royce. Because we all know that I cannot afford that. So I want to be realistic and I don't want to overspend and know my limits. So Mercedes is the optimal decision.
Right. How many cars do you want to have in the future?
Just one.
Just one.
Just for getting, like you said, taking me from destination A to destination B.
Right.
And having more than one car, I don't know. Why? What's the point of that?
Okay. Another question is, do you want your wife to have one?
No.
No. You don't want your wife to be a driver.
So I may sound stereotypical right now, but I feel like women are not built for driving. They're not cut out for driving. Listen, I don't want to overgeneralize and say that all women are bad drivers. There are some women, and actually some acquaintances of mine who can drive Damas, a mechanical car, mechanical transmission car. And there is a passage about this. Like we normally have a discussion with students about like stereotypes with regard to driving. But when it comes to my own wife, I don't really think that driving is a good idea for her because I can take care of her myself. I can take her to any destination she wants. And
so why does she need a car, right?
What's the point of that?
Of having one. That's good logic. Right. But I'm sure this comment he just made is going to trigger a lot of people in the comment section.
Let's imagine a situation like real life situation. She's alone in the middle of the road. The car breaks down. What's going to happen?
She's going to call you.
But what if I'm busy?
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
She's going to help from other men. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
Or she gets into a car accident. Like, can you imagine a situation? You're getting a phone call by some other men or some other people and saying that, hey, your wife got into a traffic accident. That's unimaginable.
Yeah.
How would you feel? That's not possible to imagine. And from my perspective, women's reactions are slower compared to men. And again, like I don't want to generalize and say that all women are slow. No. When it comes to driving, you can observe it yourself, like on the road, like women are sitting like this, like paying too much attention on the road and driving too slowly. Yes. I mean, it's not that bad, but there are situations when you have to like really multitask and pay attention to like very many variables, too many factors. So, I mean, generally speaking, I wouldn't want my wife to drive a car.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure, no problem. But for a moment, this guy sounded like Ender Tate, right? Women make bad drivers. Women make bad drivers. I want you to cut this part and share it with Ms. Mukadima, okay? I want her to watch this part. Yeah, I'd love to see her reaction to this comment, okay? Thank you. Now, I got what I wanted. I just wanted to hear that. All right. How about UFC? Do you like watching UFC fights?
Yeah, actually, my YouTube feed started to show me UFC videos. I don't know why. Probably because like I, like watched a couple of videos and then like it started from there. Yes, I follow UFC.
So who's your favorite UFC fighter now?
Right now.
Right now.
And which weight category?
Any weight category.
Any weight category.
Yeah, right.
So earlier it was Habib, and then since he's retired right now, it's maybe. Can I name two?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure.
Like Russian fighters, Hamza Chimaev and what was the other guy's name?
John Jones.
No, I said Russian fighters.
Russian.
Hamza Chimaev and Islam Makhachev.
Islam Makhachev. Got it. Why do you like Khamzat?
Style of fighting, not his behavior of the octagon, but style primarily. So the reason why I like these fighters is because they can combine both like
grappling and kicking.
Exactly, and taking down the opponent.
Yeah.
This is not all fighters can do. So they can mix both like judo and boxing and
But I honestly don't like grapplers much because when there's every time there's a grappler on the octagon, the fight is boring.
Why?
Because the 90% of the time they're on the ground. They're on the ground wrestling. It's more interesting than when they're throwing punches and kicking. That's why I like Style Bender more. Israel Adesanya and the other guy John Jones. Because
John Jones is crazy.
Yeah, he is.
He's crazy.
You know what? There's an interview of the president of UFC, Dana White, and he's asked who's one fighter he would choose as his bodyguard to protect him if his life was at risk. And guess who he picked?
Jones.
He picked John Jones.
And he's in the heavyweight division, right?
Yeah, he's pretty old now though. He's like 35. Yeah,
Is 35 old for UFC?
It is pretty old for any
How
athlete.
old is Conor McGregor?
Connor's probably in his early 30s, and he's coming back.
Early 30s?
Yeah, I think he
Really?
is.
I thought he's older.
Yeah, I don't know. But he's coming back. He's going to be back.
And there's also like one more fighter from Armenia, I think. A young one, 22 years old. What was his name?
I don't think I do. You guys know his name? He's 35.
Yes.
Then John Jones must be a little older than him, right? Probably like somewhere 40.
22, and he's a rising star. He's developing exponentially, you know. And he's fought with Islam Makhachev not long ago.
Did he win?
Was Beard? No.
He lost.
He lost
Okay.
by points.
He's what? 36. He's 36. Connor and John Jones are roughly the same age.
Yeah.
That means, John Jones still have something left in the tank. He's going to be back for more fights, I guess.
Probably.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And do you think there is any possibility of two of us getting on the octagon? Because this is one match people would love to see one day. Alisher versus Muhammad Ali. I think we should make this happen. And we should make it pay-per-view.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, I very much liked your approach to making deals with people.
Yeah.
And like when... all right. On condition that... so that's 3 nines. We go to mountains, fully covered, right?
Yeah.
That's 5 nines, and we are coming on octagon. How do you like this idea?
Okay, no, not exactly.
From
Okay, here's the deal. Okay, all right, easy, Tiger. It was sure. We're gonna make this happen one day, but first we need to recover from our injuries. You need to recover from your knee injury, and I need to recover from my back injury.
Okay.
But this is never off the table. This fight has to
But
happen one
there
day.
has to be a condition.
There
And
has
what
to
about
happen
your
one
weight?
day.
Like, I think I'm heavier.
You
than-
are
than
for
you
sure.
are.
Yeah, but I don't mind. I think I can still kick this guy's butt. Yeah, I can still kick your butt. and we need to
we'll
have
see.
we need to have a pre-fight conference and post-fight conference, like all UFC style. Okay, we need to get real event organizers and like 4 different angles. Oh yeah, and we're gonna probably live stream it on this channel. Once hopefully by then we'll get to a good enough size. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be Dana White.
It's gonna be our Dana White.
Hobbies.
It's probably gonna be in the US by then.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, guys.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yes, mark our words. One day two of us are getting on the octagon and you're gonna see us beat the crap out of each other. Anyway. All right. Yeah. We went over a lot of stuff today, buddy. I still have like 3 more questions I wanna ask you before we wrap this up. It's the final part of the podcast where we get a little philosophical. And if you've been watching our podcasts lately, and I hope you do, last part of the podcast we talk philosophy. So, what's your personal philosophy?
I think we talked about this in the previous.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the previous podcast.
And is it still the same then?
Yes.
It is.
It is the same.
Which is?
Sabr and shukr. So like gratitude and patience.
But not in this exact order, because in Uzbek, you switch the order. Yeah, I know little Uzbek.
You do.
Yeah.
It's the same.
So why do these 2 values deeply resonate with you?
Because of their impact on my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because these 2 are important, like aspects of our religion, Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have these 2,
mm-hmm.
then you're gonna reap rewards, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Right.
And actually, I can give an example from a personal life. This band 9 is the result of these 2. I could have stopped somewhere earlier and be done with the test and say that, okay, I'm okay with 8.5. All right. So this is my maximum. No more tests. I'm sorry. Maybe I can be more focused on my teaching. No. Life goes on and you should always strive for self-improvement, and you're going to have some setbacks. Yes. Along the way, I'm not going to hide it. I had some band 8s as well. Like 8.5, band 8, and again 8.5, 8, 8.5, etc.
And eventually 9.
Eventually 9.
Yeah.
So no giving up, patience, and you should feel grateful. Keep working, feel grateful, patience. Yes, because life isn't all about having always blue sky ahead.
Yeah.
There are some setbacks, and you need to know how to deal with them. You need to know how to control yourself and just move on.
Yeah. So life is like a testing ground, right? You're just being pushed to your limits to see what you really are inside.
Life itself is a test.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life itself is a test.
And your 2 biggest weapons, 2 biggest assets to survive is patience and gratitude. Got it. Right.
Any order.
In any order you like.
Order.
Right. Because they're equally important, right?
Yes.
Now, yeah, that's very deep. That's a lot to take in. Now, next question here is, how does it feel to be your age? How do you feel? You're 25 now, right?
Yeah, that's you're quarter of a century old.
Yeah. You're soon going to turn 26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of time passed. You don't know how much time is left ahead of you. And you should do your best to leave as much legacy as possible. And by the time you are 30 or 35, you shouldn't feel regret that you have lived your life. Yes. I know that at this age, we're working too hard. We may be pushing ourselves too hard, but in the end, it's all worth it. If you think about it, it's worth it.
All the sacrifices.
Yes. And it may be difficult right now, but later it's going to be easier. If you choose an easy life right now, you will suffer for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And the same applies to, to people who are younger than us, like students who are preparing for the test maybe. I can see some of them like wasting their time. Time is the most precious resource we are given. Yes, and if you waste it, you are opting for an easy life right now. You're not challenging yourself, but then later it might be too late, and you will have a miserable life. Yeah. So if you choose challenges, if you choose like obstacles right now, then your life is going to be easier. I think this is how it works.
Yeah, I actually have a quote for this one, and it's so spot on. And the quote goes, if you choose easy, you'll have a hard life. If you choose hard, you'll have an easy life. And just pretty much sums up what the thing you're trying to say here.
Yes.
And this
and
so spot on.
Yes, all of us have dreams, right? So you want to get a car, you want to have get a like a beautiful mansion or a house. But Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of hard work. And for now, we are talking about only materialistic side of things. And there are like many more.
Like?
Spiritual side of things. You need to find the true purpose of life. Yeah.
Have you found the true purpose of life? Or are you still searching for it?
No. If you find God, you found everything. If you didn't find God, you found nothing. I think that answers your question.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. So true. So true. All right. Yeah, that's heavy. One last question for today. What's one piece of advice you have for 16-year-olds out there?
Work hard. Work hard. And have patience and
be grateful.
Yes, gratitude. Patience, gratitude. Two things, important things.
Yeah. And probably have little faith that things will work out.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
Mr. Alisher, it was a pleasure. It was an honor to have you on the show again. And I enjoyed it so much. And I can't thank you enough for coming here and sharing with us all your experiences, stories, insights, and your philosophy, and opening up. Yeah.
It's mutual. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I hope to come on podcasts more if we have like more things to share.
Yeah.
Because this podcast is really special because it's happening after that beautiful score. Yeah. And if we have like more achievements in the future, I would love to come on the show more and share my experience.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
Thanks
for the invitation.
A lot. It means so much to me, to all of us, to our audience. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you liked our content, please don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Leave us your comments in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yes. Thank you.